welcome back. It's been a little longer than we expected from the last time we were here, but we're back. Kind of reflecting on February this time and coming up some cool events in March.
Who are you?
Oh, my name's Daniel Katzman, financial advisor down in Newport Beach. It's Ian White, financial advisor with Edward Jones. Bryn Parmenter with Parmenter Insurance. And this is the Young Professional Podcast. Welcome.
Very good.
Today, you want to start with some cool chamber events that are coming up?
Sure. Yeah, we got a couple of ribbon cuttings coming up. These are kind of cool because not only do you get to experience a new business, but it's also a bit of a mixer. So coming up on March 6th, we've got the Marquee Urgent Care ribbon cutting. On the 8th, one of our members, Platinum Junk Hauling, is actually putting on a toy swap. So that's going to be really cool in Rimgate Park. And that's on Saturday the 8th.
What is a toy swap?
That is where, if you have kids, they just collect all these toys. And, it feels kind of bad to throw them away when they've aged out. So you go here and you give people toys who can use them. And
Awesome.
Maybe get some
awesome.
Where your kids are age appropriate.
Awesome. Those guys are awesome.
They
I
are.
like them. They're a great new membership. Thank you guys
Yeah,
for joining.
they do a lot of
I
help
appreciate
with
it.
local community and stuff. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Platinum,
Platinum Bucket, yeah.
Platinum Junk.
our sponsor, non-sponsor of the day.
Yep.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah.
They're not
And
even
on
sponsors.
March-
They're not even paying us for this. We like them that much.
Yeah, March 13th, we got another ribbon cutting with Domenico's. That's going to be a good one. So,
Nice. Domenico's got good food.
yeah.
Another one. Interesting. Is it this like a 1-year celebration or something like that?
I don't think we did one when they first joined.
Oh, COVID or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, so
What day is that?
that is
Should be Thursday.
March 13th.
March 13th. We hope this is out before then. That's awesome. That's
More
going to be
food
fun.
for us if it isn't.
Yeah, I'll be there for sure. That'll be cool. I like Domenico's a lot.
Yeah, what about the city?
City, upcoming events, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 3 o'clock. That'll be cool. Lots of cool, fun city meetings if you want to go check that out. There's some free document shredding March 22nd. Farmers Market, March 22nd as well, starting 9 a.m. Sunday brunch, March 23rd. City Council meeting, March 25th. Lots of fun stuff. Check it out on the MV Life app. Get them all downloaded on your calendar. Check it out. Super cool. There's some crazy stuff going on in the news, and I don't really know
I
how
haven't
else to
noticed.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, God bless you. I wish I did notice, but it's our job. So, Bryn we were talking about some stuff before we turned on the camera, and I had not really quite realized that.
Yeah, with the tariffs, I think a lot of people talk about your groceries, your eggs, or even some electronics and stuff. But some of the big ones, I was just talking about it with Jane in the past couple of days, how lumber and wood are a big part. But it's not even that. We actually spoke with one of our contractor clients, and they're saying concrete and just about everything in building materials, there is going to be massive price increases. And as most people know, with tariffs, it's not that it goes up right away. With them looming on the horizons, businesses or suppliers have to raise those rates early on so they have the funds to buy those new, to resupply essentially. And how that all comes back is to the housing market. Insurance is based on rebuilding costs. And so it's a really scary thing when someone, let's say, we'll use $1 million, make it an easy figure, tariffs come out and there's 20% increases because all that gets passed back up on the consumer. And you have $1 million in rebuilding costs is now $1,200,000 essentially overnight. And so you have all these policies that are written that are no longer insuring you up to what the future rebuilding costs are. You have that in buildings, you have that in vehicles. We've had a lot of talk about a lot of the components going into even some of the few cars that are made in the States going to be going up, driving those costs up. $60,000 cars looking like $80,000 almost overnight. And insurance policies are written on that prior value. So much change so suddenly opens up some really scary gaps for people. If something like Paradise Fires were to happen with these tariffs going thing, it'd be disastrous. It is really just, I don't know what to say. It seems like not proper planning and just no one really knows. I think we got today. We noticed that the tariffs got pushed back another month to see what happens, but it's not just stocks and things like that. It's affecting just about every aspect of people's lives, and it's just really scary for the market because these policies don't get rewritten midterm. They don't just switch up midterm, and to expect insurance agents to reach out to the hundreds of policies they have and talking to each person, get it updated just for what? To get a new favorable trade deal, and for it to be switched back overnight and all that work to be done again. It's just idiocracy. To be completely blunt, it's just a mess. And so it's kind of worrying to see what's going to happen and how this all shakes out. And yeah, we'll see.
But in an earlier podcast, you mentioned there used to be like $4 or $5 billion disasters a year. Now it's less though, right? So we probably don't have to worry about.
No, yeah. So we're getting less major weather disasters. That's
I think you said it's over tripled.
Oh yeah, no, it's over 20 a year on average, where in the past it was about under 5. So yeah, I mean, and we're still in seasons where it's hailstorms. People don't think about it, but hailstorms causing massive amounts of damage. And imagine a hailstorm coming out at night and then you find out the lumber on your roof has gone up by 20%. And so now you're out of pocket, even though everything was done right. Your agent wrote the policy right. It's just that it was a drastic change in an extremely short amount of time.
Yeah, it's not like it hasn't increased over the past couple of years generally.
And that's why usually built into insurance policies, you have a bit of inflation built into the policy, 4% inflation on policies. You have a little extra wiggle room to say, hey, because of inflation, the price of this has gone up. It's not 4% at this point. It's 25%.
Jesus.
Yeah. And that's which purely drives up inflation. So it's not only driving up price of materials. When you see large material prices spike like this, you also see the cost of labor also goes up to help people afford these things. Because you have to realize these business owners are not just charging their these supplies. They need to upcharge their labor now as well just to match it, because it's just like a wildfire of inflation. And so everyone sees the products, the commodities, luxury goods going to hold back, but services go up with that too. And it's very worrying when you're hearing business owners. I think we're in a point where many industries where things were a little tight before, or this type of stuff puts people out of business. Small business does not thrive on this. They don't have that buffer period that some of these massive chains. I don't know if you guys saw it, Walmart has so much buying power, so they're going back to a lot of their suppliers in China to try to see if the suppliers themselves will eat that cost. From what I've seen, none of them are going to do it. But with someone like Walmart, you have reserves, you have time to try to negotiate, and you have weight. You can throw around your weight a little bit. These small businesses have no options when something like this comes down.
I think you raise a good point, because in terms of the market itself, there's a bit of an overreaction where the market's down right now. In the scheme of things, this doesn't matter to most large corporations. Like you said, they can eat the cost for a while. For things that will affect them for 6 months or a year, when they're an immortal entity.
Too big to fail, right?
It doesn't.
Long term.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you can, too big to fail, it has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Now assume, not like a Walmart, but a good company that's like Starbucks, that's taking care of their customers. They've built up cash reserves to handle these types
That's
of
only
things.
coffee that's really taking care of your customer.
I mean, it's not a need.
It says it
a
causes
want.
cancer when you walk in the door.
That's California.
Pretty nuts.
It's California rules that make you say that about everything.
So McDonald's, it's on every fast food chain you go by too, right on their drive-through window.
But you have a business like that they're not really going to see a drop in their value, because stock prices are based off of long-term predictions. With tariffs, it's not good long-term for the economy, but in the short term, there's actually some benefits that push back the negatives. So one thing that could happen is the dollar strengthens as opposed to these other currencies, and so that helps give us purchasing power. Not to mention the tax. that we'd be receiving. So there's actually an offset in the beginning. And like you said, the people who are hurt are the smaller businesses that can't afford to wait for them to fix this, for them to realize that this isn't what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tariffs might be great if your idea is to, that people generally want to buy local. They just need a little bit of a push.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, if we wanted to buy local, we would. We don't.
Walmart
We buy
wouldn't
it on
have
Amazon
success.
anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Walmart and Amazon would be a success.
Right, but we're not willing to pay more. And in fact, we specifically said inflation was a big problem. And now it seems like it's being exacerbated.
Imagine if, like, instead of just rushing into things, you kind of had a goal and you built a backbone of trying to get things local manufacturing before just trying to, this is how we do it, and so we're going to force it.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
that would be nice.
Yeah, yeah, it really would.
Only our president didn't have a Twitter account.
Yeah, right?
Like, the homie just needs to shut up. Just
Man.
chill out. Who needs to sign that many executive orders? Dear God. Was it, like, what is it so far? Like 211 or something ridiculous?
I can't keep track.
Man, it's-
Nobody can. Like, stop it. Knock it off. Somebody needs to take the pen out of this old man's hand and just.
But I think that's
chill.
what a lot of people wanted. I think a lot of people that voted for him thought they wanted change, but didn't really think of a lot of the
That's what I think
consequences
about a
to
lot
make
of the times.
change without the foundation.
Yeah.
It's
But
Makes her-
I guess something had to change, but yeah, the consequences of that change are gonna be they're gonna hurt for a while.
yeah,
And it is what it is.
and it'll hurt small business and people that were hoping for a change, but eventually, maybe if things right the ship, it'll probably be better for the bigger corporations. And as we've always seen, trickle down economics definitely works, right?
Anyone want to make 1 year predictions right now?
I think we're gonna be just fine.
You think S&P 500 hits the 7,500 mark?
I'm not giving numbers. I don't care what the numbers are. I think we're if we don't see a recession, that we're gonna have a great year. And if we do see a recession, it'll be minor.
Minor correction.
Just my prediction. That's not advice.
yeah, trademarks.
Because what I see happening is the economy is still so strong. Most companies beat their profit expectations this last quarter.
And then their stocks still go down. It drives me bonkers, dude. Phenomenal earnings
it's
report.
a good thing.
Everything's going great. We're going to see a phenomenal year. The following day, 5% decline, 7% decline. It's like,
That's great. We've got cash to invest. Let's invest it.
Exactly, and that's something that we're just
But
learning to deal with.
So there's all this like politics stuff that's happening, which is a issue.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, we have AI, which you've got this force, which is the cycle of the market. Everyone's fully employed. They're getting paid more now. They're going to get a little complacent, not work quite as hard, and maybe they're 3% less efficient.
Mhm.
Well,
Isn't that what we're supposed to see tomorrow? We're supposed to see the income reports. We're supposed to see employment.
So the income reports are not as good as the employees need, but they're more than the employers wanted. Right? So they're having to pay more. It's not nearly enough.
Mhm.
But now a company like Coca-Cola is going to say, well, we're at full employment. We're making all our products the best we can, and we need to make more money for our shareholders. How we can do that? Oh, we could find some people to lay off. Right, so that's what normally happens at the end of a cycle, and then there's usually a recession involved somewhere in there. But with AI, there's a lot of companies building out infrastructure in the hopes of taking advantage of some of this, potentially crazy innovation.
Mhm.
And so there's a chance that we just skip the recession, or if we do see it, it's more minor because people are still trying to work and get into the next,
Was
internet.
the tech bubble a minor crisis in your opinion?
It wasn't a tech bubble. It was
The 08, the
internet.
2000 crisis.
It was the
Dot-com.
.com.
Sorry,
Yeah, it was
whatever.
websites. So people thinking that it was a tech company because it was a website.
Was that a minor correction? In your opinion?
That was big.
That was huge.
Right.
Do you think we could see something like that again?
Of course we could, but I don't think we will. Because when my clients talk to me about AI, there are some small companies that are predominantly like, this is what we're doing, but the biggest players are what Google, Microsoft, companies we already know and own, and they're probably going to buy up all the little people anyway. So the chances of us spending a bunch of money buying all these little stocks, they're just not there, for one. But for two, I just don't think people are going to do that.
Sure.
It would be interesting to see, though, because we talk about AI, bring in some new opportunities and stuff. It seems like a lot of companies are trying to use it really to reduce overhead.
Yeah,
and
because that's the lowest hanging fruit.
Of course, but where are these jobs? Maybe either are they going to find inefficiencies there where they realize they need to bring people back in to oversee it, or where are we going to be finding these new jobs essentially for many people that have now been deemed redundant because an AI can do it?
Yeah, just think about all the jobs that exist today that didn't exist 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. So we will grow and change. In general, though, as a society, now we're getting deeper. Yeah. I do think we're going to have a problem where we're just not going to need to work that much. Mm-hmm. Most things will be automated, and that in itself isn't a problem. It's that when we get bored, we light things on fire.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is most of, especially the United States, built on a capital is built around working.
Right.
I don't think this country.
Well, and it's built around consumerism, mm-hmm. especially consumerism around things that go bad. Mm-hmm. So we got all these landfills. If we can focus more on services, having fun by having experiences rather than a thing or a trinket, that'll solve part of the problem. But
if we just get rid of planned obsolescence.
Right.
Dear God.
That's my biggest. You're about to get got by the capitalist gods.
Hit me, bro. I'm done.
I think one of our biggest things, though, is just cost of general living, housing, and things like that. It seems like every day we get closer to the dream of homeownership.
Right.
Disappearing.
Yeah, you remember Boy Meets World?
I don't. Oh, I know the name. I've never watched it much.
Yeah, one of the classic shows, see the kids grow up and you're like, oh, I'm that age too. Mm-hmm. Then they go off to college and they graduate and they want to buy a house, mm-hmm. and they're freaking out. Like, how are we going to afford an $80,000 house? And the realtor's like, no, you put like a down payment down, you pay it over many years, it's fine. Mm-hmm. The wages have only about doubled, not quite, mm-hmm. since then. But the housing prices are up 10 times, so...
That's where it's one of these things. You hear of companies like Blackstone buying up more homes, and this is one of those opportunities.
BlackRock?
Was it BlackRock? I thought it was Blackstone was a separate company that was also buying up homes.
Maybe. I don't know. BlackRock was definitely doing it.
BlackRock was doing it too. But in a time like this where, I think you've already seen, I saw a story today, where people are... the rate of delinquent car payments is high, one of the highest it's been. You start with the car.
This was the largest credit card debt building Christmas season ever. Mm-hmm. Ever. And it's like, we already have enough. Stop it.
Well, you start with the delinquent car payments, and then it's the house, and then the banks are taking the houses, and then it's either who's going to be buying up the houses, and then it's quick. And that's why I think it's going to be hard to get to a state of where people don't have to work, because how are these companies going to keep charging the rent if the money's not flowing?
I think there's got to be some government involvement. Get rid of
right now. They're pretty involved, buddy.
Yeah, I know. Get rid of companies buying residential homes. Mm-hmm. Well, that's if you did that'd probably solve half the problem.
Then at what point though do we stop private investors doing it too? I was
well, it's one thing, if I save up, I could probably buy a couple of houses mm-hmm. in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more, but the average person, a couple of houses. A business is buying thousands of them.
Yeah, I just think of I forget his name. It's a guy that financial advice. People call into him and he kind of like talks.
Dave Ramsey.
I think it could be him.
The Ramsey Show.
I think so. I think they were talking about it, and his
I
daughter.
Love you. It was Dave Ramsey, great. Please call us one day.
His daughter was on the show, and she was calling him out on stuff that he was trying to like get around because he was like, "Oh, the person that owns 3 or 4 homes, they're not gonna be big." She's like, "How many do you own?" He's like, 20. He's like, "Oh, so that." And he's like. And then I think he went on to say something along that he doesn't own them, God owns them, and God would like him to manage them. Some Olympic level mental gymnastics.
He's got some pretty good gymnastics though, and it tracks. It's pretty good. I like it a lot. It's pretty good. You should listen to him. I like it. No. Like,
but no, I do agree that it's probably more the companies buying up thousands of them and then selling out to low-income areas and trying to gain benefits off that as well.
I talked to a dude the other day, who, like an intro call, and he's like, "Yeah, one day I want to own Section 8 housing." And it's like, it's a little strange. Like, I get it, kind of. Like,
Most
you want to
people
have a
get
rental.
upset when that happens.
Yeah, everyone hates the Section 8 housing landlord. And
Yeah, but don't they get provided government subsidies? So you kind of have
That's
that.
not
Sure,
enough.
sure.
It's not
I don't
enough,
know.
but I mean, from hearing from people,
It's guaranteed rent.
guaranteed rent in a place like California where you
You
hear
don't
about
need guarantee. I mean,
in California.
no,
you
I
kinda do.
mean, as the landlord, it's gonna fill up, no matter what you do. So you have to set aside some apartments that you get to charge less.
Yeah, but if you're having those where you're kind of knowing, all right, at least if people here are delinquent, there's something coming in, and you hear so many stories in California where you have a home in, say, Mission Viejo, where you're charging $3,000 to $5,000 a rent, but the people aren't paying it, you can't get them out.
Yeah.
So you want to spend all that work with your 20 homes trying to chase people down, or you can be like, well, people aren't paying, I still have something coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those, you don't have to worry about maintaining them as well, keep them all nice, so it fits for someone I could see that doesn't want to put in a lot of work and not have much risk happening, just not a little work into it. But
to try to profit off of like people's despair is kind of strange in my opinion.
Well, yeah. Why did he say he wanted it?
He just was looking at all their other income revenue streams.
Oh.
So it's like, you could just have a rental property. It's just specifically be like, I want Section 8 housing. It's like, hey, I get it, maybe, kind of, but what are you doing here, you know? But I don't know, hey.
I mean, if you lack the morals, I feel like that's how a lot of people have made
If you
large
hear this, sir,
profits.
we're going to help you out. You know, I just want to let you know. We're going to work on it, but I
mean,
just
that's-
never heard that before.
I mean, people in need, those are the people that people go after a lot. I mean, that's why it's illegal to price gouge, but you still see people buying
It's not
generators.
illegal to price gouge.
Well, it's
Not-
illegal
not
if you're going to
federally.
be buying generators in a separate state and then driving out to Florida to sell them at significant high margins. That
Yeah,
is
it's only illegal for the little guy.
Yeah, true. As long as you're incorporated in Fortune 500, you can
Yeah.
do it.
To wrap up the whole real estate thing, there is a solution. It just wouldn't work here.
Mhm.
In some smaller countries, some not-for-profits will buy up
Oh, yeah,
about
it's like
50% of the rental properties. And they'll charge normal rent until the mortgage is up, 15, 30 years.
Mhm.
Once it's up, they charge at cost. So the rent gets cut in half, and over 50% of the market is that way.
Mhm.
So the other 50%, they can't charge full rent anymore either,
Mhm.
because people, they're like, oh, there's enough, I'll
Just
just
competition
wait.
drives it down.
Right, I'll just wait for the cheaper one. And then that completely fixed the
So
system.
we do want corporations buying just 501(c)(3)s.
Yeah, if somebody has a lot of money and they wanted to do that, great. It just wouldn't work here well because there's so many rental places. You just have to have too much money.
Yeah, you'd have to have stupid money. And
Right.
nobody with stupid money does.
You could
stuff
you
like
could
that.
probably do it in a community, in a
Mhm.
city, in one city, but then that's your entire legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The entire
And you don't even
legacy.
get to help people until the mortgage is up.
True.
How many people have entire buildings paid off though?
Yeah.
I
Probably.
think you'd see a lot
Well,
of people in California.
All the second generation.
I was about to say you see a lot of people, and that's where we kind of see it in insurance, where you find buildings that don't have updates and things like that. It's been in the family for 60 years. It's been passed down. Oh, we don't really know when updates were. We just keep it going. Oh, it's been 40 years since we've done the electrical. Ooh, okay.
That's
but
how you get sued.
well, we haven't had any problems yet, and stuff like that.
You can't get insurance though, right?
No, well, that's why there's a problem with a bunch of agents in the. You'll find that there's definitely agents that don't ask about updates, and they can just find policies. Definitely run into them where doing all this work and someone tends to get mad at me because they're like, the other agent didn't ask for this. They didn't ask. I'm like, well, they're not doing their job.
Well, do you want your policy to pay out or not?
Yeah, do you want it? Because that is a big issue in the insurance
Do they get
industry.
paid out or no?
No, there's so many policies out there that aren't worth the paper
So my
they're written on.
$30 million building that burns down, and I paid $85,000 a year for this insurance policy. It's
If
just-
you lied when you were forming
I
that
didn't lie.
contract,
The fucking agent didn't ask me. Beep beep beep. The person didn't ask me.
Then it would be litigating against
Sorry
that
about that. Yeah,
insurance
it's my
agent
bad.
on their errors and omissions policy. It's just like going after a doctor doing something wrong with their malpractice.
So you have to get your $30 million building out of their errors and omission, and they have a $2 million errors and omission
Well,
policy.
usually it's about $1 million per occurrence, $2 million aggregate if they have an umbrella, but yeah.
You know, the
So-
cheapest thing to do in the long run is don't lie.
Yes.
Well, no, obviously, but like, say, because it's like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I have the privilege of knowing an individual who has, connections to a very wealthy, very high worth property. And it's like, that's what I'm thinking about. You come into it, right? You're third generation. You don't know any of this stuff, and you're just like, we know we need insurance, right? And you talk to somebody, and then it's like, oh, we got insurance, and then it's like, that's why it matters who you talk to.
Well, you have
Yeah.
a folder.
That's why
Yeah,
you want to
I mean,
talk
if
to a top 30 ranked agent in the Southern California office. One of the top 30. Only less than 3 years in. Pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Pretty awesome. No, I checked it out today. I saw my ranking 31 to be honest with you, but pretty close. Pretty
You
close.
don't have to be that honest.
No, I'm that honest. Baby.
Top 31.
Yeah, top 31.
And we're not 30.
So
Yeah, pretty cool.
the
Yeah, now you're
question,
30, dude.
the question that's been bubbling up from all this conversation is how does a young professional succeed even in times like these?
Well, I think it kind of depends on a few things. It's what industry you're in, and kind of if I had a young guy that comes up to me and saying, I just did a coding boot camp and I am so excited. That is a spot where it's a little tough. There's a heavily saturated market that's getting taken over by AI, and that answer isn't the easiest one. You have the other ones where you can say, keep your nose on the grindstone and keep just working hard, but at a certain place you kind of have to understand where you're at, and you can do as much grinding as you want. If it's in something that isn't going to pan out no matter how hard you work, it's not always about hard work. It's about putting work in the right place.
Exactly.
Build off of that. If you don't love it, go into the trades. You're screwed. Like, seriously, if you're not loving it and you don't have a vision of exactly where you're going to be in a couple of years, and it's like you give yourself timelines of like, if I'm not here at this point and here, and you miss 3 or 4 of those markers, go into the trades. Go be a lineman. You can make $500,000 in 10 years. Like,
hard work,
in
but-
like 5-6 years, you could be making $500,000 a year.
The trades are it's something that's not flashy, it's not glamorous. I mean, may not love being elbow deep in someone else's toilet, but you can very much make a good life for yourself doing that.
Yeah, standing next to wires that are going bzzz. Like, yeah.
You know what's funny about that is even now it's often when you compare like office jobs and blue collar, it's like, oh yeah, blue collar isn't as glamorous, but it's the complete opposite for me. I know I work in an office, but I see office politics, like, oh, you got to act a certain way, you got to look a certain way. You're just surrounded by
Nonsense.
And then you go to some like contractor business and there's like some guy with a huge scar on his face and they're like, oh yeah, that's Bob, he's nice. But you go to an office and they're going to be extremely prejudicial against people that don't look right.
Yeah,
And
I think
that's where everyone used to work, is real places where people knew each other. We're like, yeah, we accept that person because they work with us.
and they work hard.
Right,
That's-
and we'll accept you too.
that is
but
definitely one of those
Office politics is now just politics, and
popularity contests.
right,
Yeah, and that
that's
is
not how we're meant to work.
working hard does get rewarded in the trades. Office, you work hard, you get more work for the same pay a lot of the time.
Exactly.
So.
And then you want me to come back into the office. And it's like I'm surrounded by nothing but
Mhm.
beep, beep, beep. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just what I ask them questions and nobody's got no answers. I go and find that answer, and I know nobody still has that answer in that office.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, let me go surround myself with a bunch of beep, 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 beeps. God
I
bless
think
my
to
coworkers, but
your
it's just
point
tough.
though, if you're in a career and there is a trajectory, you might not understand where that's going.
Mhm.
And I've said this before, you gotta ask yourself, is this for now or is this forever?
Yeah.
Because like if you're an attorney and you're working long hours and you're thinking, oh, but once I make it, right, then I'll work less. Like, no, you won't. Most of the time, no, you won't. That's a forever thing. You need to be really passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're a financial advisor in your first few years and you're like, I'm working really long hours, it's mostly going out there selling myself, talking to people, getting rejected, I don't like that. I'm an introvert. Well, in this position, that's a for now thing. Eventually, you build your book of business and you get referred people who already kind of like you because you're working with your best friend. So you don't need to do the sales thing forever. If you're a realtor, maybe you do need to do the sales thing forever, and I hope you like it. So is it for now or is it forever?
Yeah, I think it's now, forever. Take a breath, bring the head above water, take a look around. Is this going to continue, and is this something that's going to work out long run?
Yeah. And just being flexible. Like there's so many paths that I took in life that it seemed like I was just walking on water but in reality I was just like, well, I've got nothing left, I'm just gonna walk into the ocean. And I just keep floating.
Like,
I'm walking.
Okay
there's stepping stones right under the water because I'm just gonna keep moving forward and trust that I can handle whatever happens when I wake up tomorrow. And if you have a bad mindset, if you're too stressed and you can't figure out a way to regulate that, and you start making bad decisions, meeting bad people, and then it's over. And then you're 50 or 60 and you're not happy.
Yeah. So, yeah.
On that happy note, we're going to have to catch you guys on the next week. Tune in. We're going to talk more about being a young professional and the pains that go with it. What a joy.
All right.